Hi, and welcome back to That's So Nova. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for joining us. If you're a new subscriber, if you could take a moment and hit that thumbs up like buckle button, you could just like tickle it, just get a little poke. And if you can leave a comment, it does amazing things for my channel, and I would hope that you will want to subscribe. So with that being said, we're going to start jumping into our project that we're going to be doing today. We are going to be making the Rosie crossbody bag from Swoon. I want to do a small series this year for 2024, Swooning with Swoon, and do one Swoon pattern every month. So this month, for the month of January, I picked one of my favorites, Rosie. Rosie is a really cool pattern because I feel like you can use a lot of different materials. You can mix and match different things in your stash, or even in your like your scrap box. I have a huge scrap box that I try to recycle once a year, and if you find a bigger piece that's about yay size, you can, as you can see, it's not that big of a piece, you can find and make a Rosie. So with that being said, if you want to see more Swoon patterns, please comment down below what Swoon pattern you would like to see. And this one, I'm going to have two slight modifications. I am going to use zipper facings that I used templates for, instead of using the pockets for the zippers. And I will explain how you can do the pocket style, and you can see which way I'm doing it for that way. As well as I'm not doing a magnet on the interior side of the flap. It's going to go through the exterior and the interior, and so you'll see how to install a magnetic lock as well. So that's always a good thing. All right, here we go. So let's start with our strap. I always try to do the strap now first, so that way I can make sure that I have enough thread in the machine. So I'm using some double-sided tape, and I'm going to take the strap. The strap is 6 inches by the width of your vinyl. I'm using Mora from Emmaline bag. I love this color. It just reminds me of like what I would imagine some beautiful seas and lakes and over the seas will be like. It's just really lovely. So I'm folding it towards itself. And leaving about a 1/8 of an inch gap in between. The double-sided tape I'm using is not the super sticky one from Wowak. It's the in-between one. I like it. It doesn't gum up the needles as much, but sometimes, with that being said, it doesn't stick down really heavily. All right, so let's bring this over to our machine. We're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch down both sides. I like to back stitch a couple stitches. And let's see. Let's get... Take your time. I'm following the 1 inch mark. If I stop, my needle goes in the needle down position, so it gives me time to adjust. You could put clips along the way so that you don't have anything to worry about. I'm using 70 weight color pop thread from Wowak as well. It's a nice turquoise color, but it blends really nicely with this Mediterranean color. And then on the side that is fully enclosed, you can let your machine run free. if you're comfortable with it. And then we're going to trim these threads. And we're going to roll up and put this on the side for right now. All right, so I'm going to also do the strap tabs. They are 3 by 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that this has enough interfacing. You can see there's a slight stretch. So I'm taking some electrical tape and running it down the center of it. Well, actually, I'm going to put it towards one side because it's hard to fold electrical tape. Down one side. You could put it on the other side, but I try to help like not have as much bulk. This electrical tape has no stretch to it, so it will help keep the tabs nice in structure when I'm using vinyl without having to use any extra interfacing. Okay, I'm going to fold these towards one another. And folding the tabs on so that they meet in the center. You could have put the electrical tape in the center. I kept thinking this, you fold this in half, but you don't. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch down both sides. I'm just going to hop over a few stitches here and do 1/8 on the other side. All right, I'm going to trim those threads. And then I'm going to fold this in half. And then these will be for our strap tabs. I'm going to grab the main exterior and the main lining. The main exterior and the main lining and the piece. I'm going to take this piece, the front of the flap, and I'm going to fold it in by 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to take some double-sided tape. I drew a 1/2 inch going down, and then I'll just fold it to the line, and it'll be the 1/4 of an inch. Now, you don't need to do double-sided tape. If you have glue, you can glue and iron and let it iron set that way. Or you can use like beacon glue or things along those lines and to use it to help not gum up the needles. You could pin it if you're using cotton. This is cotton, and I could have pinned it, but I'm for I'm tremendously for double-sided tape. I'm going to press this so I get that 1/4 of an inch fold over. And I'm just trying to really press it. Okay, let's see. Do I have my seam roller over here? I have a hot wrench, maybe? No, I do not. Normally I have like a really cool, oh, here it is. I have a nice little, as I'm knocking everything else down, seam roller. And then I just roll it out like this, so that way it can stay as long as possible. I didn't have any pre-made piping, so I'm going to do some faux piping. You can add piping, you don't have to add it, but some faux piping I like to do. I like to take a 1-inch scrap piece and I just will place it under, and it looks like it's piping, but it's not. I'm going to find my centers. I'm going to find my center here. This does not want to stick, but it will. I'll find it here. So what I like to do is take some clips and match center to center. Okay. Then I take the faux piping and I kind of take either glue or double-sided tape, whatever you like. And I am going to create my faux piping so that it can stick. I'm just going to stick my faux piping wrong sides together. And you see it kind of, it's not going to look like the welted piping, but it'll give the illusion of piping. And I'm only going to put it on the sides. Putting that in the trash, the wrapper. All right. So I'm going to bring this to the machine and I'm just going to tuck this in. You can again use more double-sided tape, but I'm going to just eyeball it to bring this to the machine, and we're going to sew this down. I'm using 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just, whenever I'm going to readjust something, I am just making sure that my needle is down. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Hold those tails, and I like to go back 2 or 3 stitches. I'm just going to maneuver my faux piping keep saying binding because I bind so much that I think that's the only word I know how to use instead of piping now. All right. Sorry if you hear my puppy in the background. Puppy's got to do what puppy's got to do, right? All right. So we have our front flap. I'm going to grab our lining piece of the flap and do some markings. So on the flap, if you look at step 3, we're going to be going up 2 inches for the magnet on the flap, not the main panel. So I'm going to find my centers and I'm going to make some marks real quick and trim off any excess stuff. I have like lots of extra threads. So I'm going to find our center, clip it, and then I'm going to measure 2 inches up and make a mark. I actually can just make it easier on myself and do this. And I'm going to make it a red dot so you guys can see. I'm going to put an X because I will totally get confused. And now I'm going to proceed to do the flap. So we're going to be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance and we're going to put the flaps together. If you're not using a decorative magnet like I am, you would fold this in half, find your centers, go 2 inches up and put the magnet 2 inches in on the lining. But because I'm doing a decorative magnet and I want it to be seen, it's going to go on the exterior instead of the interior. Whenever I am doing a U shape, I like to always clip on the top and flip clips off the table. It's always fun. So with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, we're going to go in and we're going to start sewing. All right. Couple stitches back. Okay, trim those excess threads. And I like to grab some pinking shears and I'll go around this beautiful U and pink it. By pinking it, you're helping spread out the bulk. It will get a little tough where that faux piping is. If your scissors can cut through it, then good. If not, grab your regular scissors. Ooh, that is not good. And make sure you do not trim into your stitches. Just trim your seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. All right. I'm going to turn this right sides out. Okay. And I'm just wiggling the seams a little bit so they can lay a little flatter. You can get a boning tool, like a bone folder, and just go around the seams just to give the curves a nice little press. All right. That's a nice looking flap. All right, let's top stitch this down at 1/8 of an inch. Take your time. I have a fairy knot. Now, if you are doing this and you have the magnet on your below, just be a little cognizant. I'm trying to pull the lining back as much as possible. Be a little cognizant of this because your magnet's so close to the foot that it can do pull your fabric and shift it a little bit. Oops. Well, I went off the track a little bit. It's okay though. Nobody will know. Nobody will know. I'm trimming those threads. All right, and now we're going to install this magnet. I'm going to remove the screws first. And get the hole puncher. So I'm going to center where I made that red dot, and I'm going to make 2 other red marks where I need to punch holes. So one right here, one right here. Going to do a good punch setting so that way it can go through cleanly. I call this the bag maker swivel when your hole punch is a little dull and you need to sharpen it, and it doesn't go through all the way like it did right now. Yeah, sometimes I just see if I can poke it out. All right, I'm going to grab a magnet, and this is a slim one on the top, and a thicker one on the bottom. Just going to leave that there. I'm going to install the magnet. I'm just sliding the prongs into the magnet slips, and then I'm going to fold the magnet onto itself, get it as flat as I possibly can. Oops. And then I'm going to take my magnet and feed it through the holes that we created. And I'm using a water resistant canvas so that it won't fray as much, but you can use fray check if you wish. And I'm just doing a little bit. I'm not tightening it until I get the other one in. Now I'm going to tighten both of them. Don't tighten it enough, but not where you're stripping the screw. Now we have a cute little magnet with bunny ears. That couldn't be a better placement. I did not know that was going to happen. I love when like happy coincidences happen like that. All right, so we have that. We're going to now take one of our front pieces and we're going to put the female magnet. So again, we're going to need to find your centers. So a couple clips. And we're going to snip. Sorry, my puppies. It's like they know when I'm working and then they're like, guess what? We're going to make some noise. So for this, we're going to go 2 1/4 of an inch up. So right here, I'm going to make a little mark. I'm going to grab my washer, place it on that mark that I made, and then I will make another mark to where I need to make some slits or some snips so that way I can get the prongs in. And I'm just going to fold over and make those little prong slits. And like none of my tools want to use, they're like, use your thumbs, break your nails. I'm not advocating for that. I'm going to use some electrical tape to cover over the prongs so that way when we turn this bag later, we're not like, oh, my hands. Because I don't know about you, but I do that a lot where I'm like, oh, my hands. All right. So this is a perfect time to test out your magnets. Make sure everything is, oh, this is going to be cute. All right. So we have some zipper pockets. This is where I change things a little bit. So here is our inside pocket we have, and we have our 2 pocket pieces. I'm going to do something very similar to what we see in a lot of the more updated patterns with having a zipper facing. Ta-da. And then we will put a zipper pull. You can make this have a slip pocket, whatever you want. I'm just going to keep it very basic with these 2 zipper pockets because it's not a very big bag, but it's big enough. This zipper facing comes from Piara. She created her own templates. You can purchase these at the template shop, if I'm not mistaken. I just really love this triangle, or I guess this angled zipper face. I like the way it looks. So I cut out the part that is in the pattern, and instead of using a pocket piece and then turning it, I'm doing it a little bit different. Just a teeny tiny bit different. I'm going to put this zipper facing or zipper template. I always get confused with the names. There's so many names. I'm going to put this cute little tag that I got from Carolina stitches when I went to So Magical last fall. Isn't that weird to say? And it's like just turned winter. I always get confused. So I know a lot of people pull threads to the back. I don't, especially if I have colors that are matching. I don't pull threads because I also go back and forth several times around the zipper teeth because I don't want it to, I don't know. I'm rough with bags. So, and I hate zippers, so. And anytime I stop, I have the needle down. And I got a knot again. I don't know why this is happening today. It's probably the double-sided tape. Sometimes that happens, but I can fix this. Sometimes we have times where something bad happens, like this got tangled onto itself, and it's fine. You just take your time. You can correct almost any problem that you have in the sewing world. That's the beauty of our art. And I'm going to take some an alcohol pad and just wipe down any excess glue to help with this process. And then I'm just going to make sure that my thread doesn't wrap around like it did. Trim this so that I can thread easily. We should be good to go. And I'll just go back over a few stitches. To make sure everything is okay. My dog, I promise you, every time it's like he knows. He's like, oh, mom's filming? Let me run around with murder bone and lose all kinds of sense. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to melt down that little area where I had to change it up a little bit. So we're going to now get a zipper. Our zipper pull right here. And our two pieces. So I'm going to melt the edges of my zipper tape, and I'm going to bring my one pocket piece over, and I'm going to sew it down with using 1/8 of an inch. And what I'm going to do a little bit different, is I'm going to kind of fold this down on itself and go over it one more time. So I kind of just fold this so now the wrong side, we see the wrong side of the lining pocket and the right side of the zipper teeth. And I'm going to do it again on this. So I try to get all the threads as much as possible. So I'm going to place this right on top. So the wrong side of the zipper tape should be touching the right side of the zipper pocket. And I'm going to go over it again, and I'm going to fold this down so we could just see the wrong side of the pockets. And I'm going to get some double-sided tape and put it on the zipper tape. And just finger press that. Oh, I was looking for the 1/8 and it was over here. And then I'm going to put my zipper pull on. I spread the teeth open. I'm going to feed one side and then the other. I will look inside my zipper pull and make sure that the teeth are right, meeting in between right where the bar is, and everything looks even. Once that is done, sometimes it's easier to say than do. You just push it on. And I put my zipper pull towards the middle. I'm going to remove the zipper tape. And I'm going to line up to make sure that it's even. And it's not like a wonky zipper. I'm notorious for wonky zippers. Okay, so we're going to go around here, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go probably back and forth a little bit on at the ends of each of the zipper. Because that area is the area that has the most stress, and then that's the area we're going to have this pocket open so that way we can birth our bag. Again, so bar tack a little bit back and forth. Take your time and don't rush. I have a heavy foot, like I'm pedal to the metal. But there's no competition. You go at your own speed. There's no race. Everybody's going to get there. All right, I'm going to flip this to the back, and then I'm going to turn this down. Now you can see we have one pocket that is longer than the other because we used a zipper. So I'm just going to trim to follow the top pocket. All right. Because this is the birthing hole, I want to leave a wide enough opening so that way I can birth it easy, but I also can try to close the pocket up. So I am just eyeballing it, and I feel like this is a good amount because what I can do is I can fold this over to itself when it's done and it'll be okay. So I'm going to sew from here, back stitch here, and then sew from here, back stitch here, and back stitch here, and leave a little bit open. All right. And I'm back stitching mostly over the teeth too, because I don't want a situation where it's not big enough to birth, and I'm like sitting here doing like hand crunches to get it out. Back stitching over those teeth, especially. Okay, so I'm gonna trim down only the side that I sewed down. I'll show you. Have a V, and then I'm just gonna trim down the side that I sew. Now what I like to do is I like to open this fully now because I have accidentally like started birthing something and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what happened? While I'm here, I'm going to fold this over on itself and find my centers. Do a little snip. Okay, so you did one pocket. There's one pocket on the exterior, and you do it the same exact way. Right here, we have our exterior. I did a zipper facing again on that, and then I put my name tag. This one's fully closed, and I just need to trim it, the seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. This just helps keep things out of the bulk of the bag, and it keeps it lighter. So we have these two pieces done. We need to grab our main exterior piece and our zipper tags. So first I need to trim. I accidentally went a little too much hard on the stabilizer interfacing it, so I'm just going to trim that excess stabilizer off so it doesn't become part of the seam allowance. I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it in half and trim one, finding my seam allowance there, and then I'm going to come up here and find my seam allowance. Not my seam allowance, my middle, my center. I keep saying seam allowance. I'm going to grab my D-rings. And let's see. D-rings. Ruler. Let's see. Trimming. I'm going to I think I made these too big. Oh no. There, I did not do 3 inches. Hold on. So we're gonna cut another piece real quick. I'm like, why is it way bigger than the 1.5 inch? You didn't cut the right piece. That happens. Like, you could just get the measurements all mixed up. So I'm gonna cut a 3 inch by 12 inch piece real quick. That is hilarious. I was like, I kept looking at it. I'm like, that does not look like 1.5 inches. All right. So I'm going to, again, take electrical tape and put it down the center. Just to give it that extra stability. You could do the same thing with cross grain ribbon. I usually get ribbon after a holiday season because it's extremely inexpensive and it really does stabilize straps and connecting pieces. This tearaway tape is Sandra's from Sewing Room Gardener. Like I said, it's a light stick. It's good for something fast, but not a good permanent one, but super cool and convenient for like something like this. You're going through this really fast. You're going to tack down the stitches. You don't want your needle to get gummed up. This is absolutely perfect. Again, 1/8 of an inch down each side. I kept looking at it too, like, this does not look like 1.5 inches. But we figured it out at the end. All right. So we have our connectors. I'm going to cut my fingers. I'm going to take a connector, slide it in, and I'm going to grab a piece of double-sided tape and put it in the middle. Not super sticky tape. And have that go right here. So just take a piece of tape. I don't have an exact amount. You could do this with glue too. And see how it's not super sticky? I have to kind of like caress it with my finger to make it go. Thread your D-ring or rectangle, O-ring, whatever you have available. And push it through. All right, so we are going to make a box, and I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch from the hardware top, so that way I don't accidentally hit it. So I'm just going to draw a line here with some chalk. All right. Then we are going to go find our center and measure 1.5 inches down and make a mark. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 1.5 inches down and make a mark. So we're going to create a box. I'm going to take, you also, if you wanted to, can make a strap that goes all the way across the side just to give it an extra little look too. I'm going to grab my thread and I'm going to sew a 1/8 of an inch box all the way around. Now you can add a rivet here. You can add a rivet towards the end too. It's your choice. But the box should be substantial enough. And we're going to do it again. And I'll try to show you on a different angle how you do it. I like to take my double-sided tape off. See, not very sticky, but that's why I like it. But this one won't really get sewn over a lot because it's in the middle. I'm going to mark it, put it right underneath that 1.5 inch mark. And I'm going to grab my threads, hold the tails, and start. And I'm going to back stitch 1 or 2 stitches. Pivot. And I'm just going to tuck any raw exposed edges. And we're going to pivot again. I'm going to trim this. And going 3/4 of an inch, as you can see, left enough room for you not to hit the hardware. All right, so we found our centers there. Let's grab our exterior piece back. And let's add our flap to it. So I'm going to, those center marks that we had, I'm going to take, I'm going to grab some clips. And I'm going to clip this to the back piece. The back one is the one with the zipper on the back. That could be your front too if you wanted to mix it up, but you would just need to change your magnet placing. And we're going to base this on at 1/4 of an inch. All right, I'm just trying to get these threads. And we're going to start clipping. So what I like to do is, again, we found our center marks. I like to put this right so it's flush to flush. And then I start clipping. I do the same thing on this side. I'm using Bouncy Foam from Cereal Bag Maker instead of foam because I ran out of foam. So I was like, let me try this Bouncy Foam with it to see how it looks. So far, it's so good. I like Bouncy Foam, period. So I know it's going to make the bag look good. And Alicia was so good, is so good at writing a gusset seam allowance. Smooth. All right, we're going to sew this down using a, we're going to be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and just move things out of the way as you sew. I'm going to move this ruler around out of here because I don't want it to fly off like everything else will be flying off soon. 1/2 inch. And take your time. All right, so we have one down. You can check to make sure that you have no puckers. I also like to trim my seam allowance here to 1/4 of an inch, and I like to use again, pinking shears. Make sure the pocket's out of the way. And I don't pink about a 1/2 inch up because I like to open up the seam allowance easier. But that's one done. And then we're going to go onto the other side. All right. So we're going to go 1/2 inch on this side. Make sure you back stitch the beginning and the end. Or hold your threads. Shinola, just hold your threads. And I broke a needle. Shinola, Shinola, Shinola. Sometimes when you hold your threads too taut, it could bend the needle and it can just break. It's not a big thing. All you have to do is change it out. That's why we have extra needles, right? And in case you're wondering, I'm using a 116. Because I know somebody's going to ask. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot to say that in the beginning. I usually use a 116 or a 118, depending on what I'm making it or what thread I'm using. Thread sizes really determine the needle size. The heavier the thread that you use, the thicker the needle you need to have. So there's that. I'm using Tech 70, so I can use 116, similar to a denim needle, or upholstery needle. And I ran out of thread. I'm just batting 100, aren't I? But it's good that we ran out of thread here, because imagine if we ran out of thread while we were top stitching. We would be really upset, rightfully so. We have another bobbin ready to go and willing to go. So right here. I should have known too. Like, my machine makes this weird like clicking sound when it's like running low on the bobbin. And sometimes I pay attention, sometimes I don't. So I'm going to go back about 6-7 stitches and just go again, back stitching. And just make sure you're cognizant of your hardware because everything's getting a little bit closer. And back stitch. Getting all those threads. We're gonna trim it down. Oops, too much trimming on that side. I try to not trim a 1/2 inch so that way when I spread out the seam allowance it's a little bit easier. But sometimes I get ahead of myself. And then we're going to just turn it right sides out. See your beautiful bag. And you can see how it's going to already sit. Look at how cute this is. This is cute. This is a cute bag. All right. So, and it's just soft enough so it's perfect for an everyday bag. I like to roll the seams in between my fingers before I start working on the lining and kind of pull and tug and get them to relax a little. Now, if you're doing this with foam, you won't have any, like, caving in situations. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to grab our lining pieces, and we're going to do the same thing. Oops, I'm just tossing things like nobody's business. So on this one, we're going to start at the 1/2 inch and we're going to grade it out a little bit to 5/8 of an inch. So that way it can sit nice and taut inside the bag and not have a saggy lining. We're almost there, guys. All right, so we're going to start, like I said, at a 1/2 inch and then veer to it to be 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch, about an inch or two down, and then go 5/8 all the way around. Okay, and again, if you stop, just put that needle down. All right, we're getting close to where we need to start veering back to that 1/2 inch seam allowance. All right, and we're going to trim this down to a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And make sure that zipper pocket is open. All right. Let's start at that 1/2 inch seam allowance and then veer to 5/8 of an inch. Back stitch, couple stitches, I do 3 to 4. And then we're going to veer it to 1 to 1/2 an inch. Okay. We're reducing that bulk to down to 1/4 of an inch. Again, pinking just spreads out the bulk even more. I just like the way it looks on curved bags. I actually use it pretty much on all bags to help just reduce. We're going to take our exterior and we're going to put our lining in there. Somebody was like, why don't you make your Decaville, use Decaville Light for Rosie? I'm like, with all this squishing? No, thank you. I'm going to put the hardware down. It's facing down, so that way I don't have to do this. I'm just matching up these notches that we made. See, flip this down. I'm just matching notches. All right, so now we're going to top stitch this. We're going to go attach the flap. And we're going to sew this at a 1/2 an inch. I'm going to put this down and I'm going to stitch from the inside. Back stitch. And you're going to get squishy, so just be prepared. It's going to be fine. If you're using foam or like a bouncy firm or thermolam, it's going to be fine. It should be okay with Decaville Light. I just can't guarantee that. That's the thing. Because sometimes Decaville Light gets a little like crinkly, and then it's hard to get those crinkles out. You're seeing steaming it and all that jazz. Okay, we're gonna reduce this bulk. We're gonna trim off 1/4 of an inch. We'll trim it to 1/4 of an inch. I'm sorry, I'm just saying words now. Be very careful when you get to your flap because it's a little bit thicker, so have your hands stay clear of it. Okay. And then we're going to birth it through this hole. So what I like to do is I'll grab the flap, and then I'll just slowly bring the bottom of the bag into the hole. And you don't want to pull on it so much where you're like hearing stitching pops. You don't want that. Take your time. So while you have this opening, you can get your bone folder out again, and you can crease the areas. And I'm just going to fold the lining in on itself and then clip it in places. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to top stitch this back panel by itself, and then I top stitch this part solo. So I am going to put a clip on both side seams right here, and then I'm going to move this front out of the pocket out of the way and just top stitch the back by itself. I know that's not typically what we see, but I find it makes my job a little bit easier if I break it up. I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to back stitch 2 stitches. And again, you're removing all this out of the way. So from one seam to another seam, because it is hard to top stitch this back. You can turn your bag inside out and top stitch that way too. If you want it consistent, a consistent row of stitching, you could just take it like this, turn it inside out. I'll do it this way so you can see. And then top stitch. So we're going to do 1/8 of an inch, and I like to start in a side seam. Doing it this way also, you have more control of the lining to tuck it out of the way. And let me make sure I hold my threads again. And you can increase your stitch length to like a 4, 4.5. Man, I am batting 1,000 with this thread today. It's probably me, not the thread. Okay, let's go. Okay. And then I'm just going to position the needle again down while I am adjusting. If some places are a little bit thicker, before you top stitch, you can, you know, get a little mallet and smash it down, like cover it with cotton and hit it down, whack those seams. Or you can use soft pliers like you do for the key fobs. But be careful, because with vinyl, again, you can get creases or like it can split in. Just be very cognizant about it. Okay, we're just gonna squish this bag down. All right, so now I'm going to trim those threads. As close as I can without cutting the fabric. And while I'm here, I'm gonna pull out this zipper pocket. And I'm just going to tuck it in by 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to clip. This one's a little bit more difficult than when we were used to with the rectangle, so you're going to have to be a little bit more patient with it. But once you get it going, you're going to be like, oh yeah, just follow that. Fold it in 1/4 of an inch, and you're good to go. Okay. Sew that pocket closed. Tuck the pocket in. Turn the bag right sides out. And what I usually do when I have a softer bag like this is I'll stuff it with like a warm towel. And it will retain its shape. So you could do a couple of things with this connector. You can connect it straight to it. You can do a adjustable strap with hardware with your swivel clasp and stuff, so that way you get a little bit more room if you get like a little bit more inches to it when you add it. So what I do is I'm going to take my tri-glider, feed it through once, and I'm going to punch a hole. I'm actually going to punch 2 holes. And I'm going to grab 2 rivets, 2 mel rivets, and I'm going to feed them through. Oh, that hole didn't punch through on that side. I hate when that happens. It happens a lot. It's because I need to be better about sharpening my hole punch. I always forget. You're never prepared, because like when you're done with this, you clean up and you don't think about it. You're going to set your rivets. I'm using my press. I have a buckle guide press, and I just absolutely love it. I'm going to take one of my swivel clasps and feed it through. Bring the tail in here, up and over. Make sure my strap is not twisted. Take my other swivel hook, feed it on over. And I'm going to punch 2 holes here. They're about a ½ inch up. They didn't punch on through the other side. That's totally my fault. Get another mill. And then get a female cap. Well, one wants to come out. And then I'm going to set my rivets. I would set my rivets on camera, but this press is extremely heavy. Like, it's heavy. This is Mora hardware. And we have the cutest bag ever. So we have a nice decorative magnet. When you open it up, we have an Oxford water resistant print. We have another zipper pocket. When we close it, when we go to the back, we have another zipper pocket. This bag is ready to go. So I'm glad that you were able to come with me and Swoon with me. Tell me down below, what other bag would you like to see from Swoon? Would you like to see the Pearl wallet? Do you want to see the Belle baby bag? Well, I don't even call it a baby bag. The Brooklyn. There's so many bags from Swoon. So do me a favor. Go over there. See what bags. Come back. Write it. Tell me, and maybe we'll do a voting thing for the month of February. So if you can like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, I'll greatly appreciate it. If you're like, Shinova, man, I've been trying to make this Rosie like forever, and you're first one I seen that did this, or this, or this, and you're like, I want to buy you a coffee, I'll put my Ko-fi information in the description box. I am sewing in a Juki 1541S. I used a 116 needle. I'm using Mora thread from Mora fabric from Emmaline bags. This is a Totoro print from Knitorious fabric. It was a pre-order from many years ago. The hardware I am using is from Mora. The cute little soot is from Thumbs and Thimbles. And if there's anything else I am not saying in here, please, by all means, let me know. Write a comment and I'll respond. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. And if you also would like to learn more about modifications, I do have a Patreon platform that's what we focus on, is making modifications like this to make the bag a little bit more special. So thank you for coming by, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Happy sewing.